Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Zach, and here we talk about overlanding and tech. And if you haven't noticed or you haven't been entered already, I'm still running the giveaway. We haven't reached that 5,000 subscriber mark yet. So go enter, because you could either win a set of traction boards or a portable air compressor. Both I think are high quality, and they're really beneficial items to have when either you're starting out while trying to get on the trails, or even if you are one that gets out there frequently. So I think it can be a helpful piece of equipment, and that's why I chose those items. And other than that, I also want to just give a quick shout out to the patrons for this channel. It really means a lot that they're willing to support me in the way that they are. So I hope you really liked that intro video. I wanted to showcase my new headlights and kind of what I did, how I installed them, and how they're really a unique version of the AlphaRex Pro headlights. So I really liked that daytime running feature of the AlphaRex Pro headlights, and I wanted to be able to gain all of that and sort of the stock look. I think that a lot of people think the AlphaRex headlights look really good because they appear to almost look OEM, but I partnered up with LASFIT and we basically gutted the lights. They have new low beams, high beams, and signals, and I think it really helps to boost the performance of the lights. And I haven't seen another YouTube video that covers doing this swap with this powerful of lighting. So it's gonna be a really awesome video. I hope you'll stay tuned for the whole thing, because we're gonna walk through how I swapped out the LEDs and then how I put them on the 4Runner and wired up everything so that it would work perfect. Also, I just want to mention that I basically spec'd out and linked down below two different options for this. So you can go with like a 4,000 lumen package, which I have links down below, and then you can go with a 3,000 per bulb lumen package, and I've linked that as well down below. So depending upon your price point, and maybe if you don't care about that little bit of extra performance, you could back down how much you want your headlights to basically shine and still be a really good light. So, you know, depending upon what your price point is or what you're willing to spend, you know, check out those two different links, because I've linked them both in case some people would prefer a slightly more affordable option for still really good performance. So with that being said, thanks so much for listening, and I think that's all of my announcements. Let's jump right into assembling these headlights so that we can actually put them on the vehicle, because we've got some light bulbs to swap out. All right, so we've got the housing right here, and I just want to kind of point out what you got to do once you want to prep this for doing our light swap. So we've got a plastic piece like this that we need to take off of the old light, because your bumper is going to clip into the bottom of your light here. So make sure you take this off. And there's two plastic pieces that are going to thread in, like right here and then right here, okay? So just make sure you line those up on the light, slide it on, and then you're gonna have these three screws to tighten down. So we've got one right here, and then we've got one right here, and we've got another right down in there, which I've already tightened down to just hold the plastic in place. So that's basically what you have to do. And then there's gonna be two caps right here, and then another right down here. And this silver housing is where the bulbs are gonna be, right? And so what we wanna do is first, you unplug this bulb, okay? That's what this little connector is. And next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna push down these little metal arms and bend them around the little housing so that we can get this light bulb popped out, okay? So these little arms are gonna pull up, and then you can just grab the bulb and take it out, okay? So we're gonna need to remove this bulb, and then we need to do the same exact thing for the low beam, just like that, okay? And then we pull out that bulb as well. And just notice the shape of this bulb, okay? So we have this little tab on the bottom that seats in a special spot inside the bulb housing. So I'll try and kind of center this. At the bottom where those two hinging metal arms are, there's a little cutout, and that is where that little tab on the light bulb goes. Okay, so now the next thing is we're gonna use some LASFIT lights or LASFIT. I still don't know how to pronounce it right, but now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna remove this little cover for the LED and move these wires, just kind of push them out of the way. If you notice, this is everything that's on the LED bulb. So this little plug-in, we're gonna plug into this socket right here. And we can do this now, or we can do it later. This little plug-in has a plus and a minus. These plug-ins don't indicate which one you're gonna need to plug the plus in. So I'm just gonna guess now, and I'll switch it later if it doesn't power on properly. But basically, you just push it on like that. And then we're going to push these wires into the housing. There's plenty of space, and line up this little notch correctly inside the housing. Okay, so this is spinning left and I don't like that. And I want this ring to be tightened down to the location of the bulb. And if you notice, see how this bulb can be rotated in any sort of like design? I don't want that to rotate at all. So I want this to basically be vertically oriented when it's pointing into the housing. Okay, so see this tab here? Your wire is going to be pointing straight up, maybe even just slightly to the left. And you'll notice when it drops in, and now if you'd see, like it basically can't turn left anymore. And let's just go over that again. In order to have this vertical positioning on the bulb and this tab to be straight down, we need to turn this all the way to the left. And so that's what I've done here, all the way to the left, okay? Next, we have this cap, and if you look, see how it's slightly almost touching this? I think what we're gonna be able to do is just give this ever so slightly a nudge to get the cap by there. And then once we tighten it, there'll be plenty of breathing room around this fan. Does that make sense? So I think it should be just fine. And so let's just give that a try now. I think these are all supposed to be the same size, but doesn't really feel like it. Okay, so let's get this bottom one hooked. There we go. And then there. Got it popped into place. All right, so just for fun, let's take off the cap just to make sure our light bulb looks like it's in okay condition. Yeah, seems to be good. Okay, let's cross our fingers. The blue bulb, blue wire is the positive one. I think it is. Let's just hope it is. There. Okay. That's closed. Now, on to the next one, and hopefully it fits. So this area is smaller than the other one, but the bulb is centered. And if you see how this cap is very hollowed out, I think we'll have plenty of breathing room to push the light in there. Not to mention this is your high beam, so I'm not really too worried about the cooling. So this one, again, in this situation, we're gonna connect the plus side to the white. Hope that works. Okay, then just orient this wire accordingly. Again, you should have plenty of space to push this big thing in there. Make sure this is turned all the way to the left. And let's drop it into place. Now the high beams, they do have a tab. With the tab, and we should be really easily able to do this one. there. And now this one, we also want to turn all the way to the left, remember? But the tab is in the right spot, so I'm not too worried about this one really rotating much. Also, the cable is wound around it this way, so if the cable pulls at all, it's going to pull it in that direction. So that should be perfect too. Okay, and we've got this lens, or we've got lens cap, we've got this dust cap, and this one fits on super easily. So just pop that on, we're good to go. Now what we're gonna do is put on the signal light, okay? So if we grab our signal light, these are also made by LASFIT. Okay, so this one I unplugged, and you can't plug it in any way you want. So just line up the contacts. So the lower one is on this side. So we're just gonna plug it in just like that. Okay. And then these have different size tabs for different spots. So the big tab is right there. So I'm gonna line up the big tab where it needs to go and push this bulb through. And it's a tight fit, so. There. All right, we've got all the light bulbs in. Like I said, it's a tight fit, but these bulbs are insane, so. And then what we're gonna have to do when we get on the vehicle and have everything mounted up is we're gonna have to wire in the daytime running lights appropriately. And so if we take apart this wiring harness, you'll notice that we have to connect some of it to the battery, some of it to a fuse, and then some to the headlights themselves. And so on this particular harness, we've got a bunch of cables, but these are the two that are gonna go to the actual light bulbs themselves, okay? So if you like separate these out, there's two different wires. One's short and one's really long. So this is gonna be on the driver's side closer to the fuse box. This is gonna run all the way to the other side, okay? And I'll explain how I'm gonna do this and everything, but I just wanted to point this out. And so we'll run this all, and then you just plug this red wire into this little brown dangly wire on the bottom, okay? And then on the other end of the harness, we've got a positive and negative for the battery, an inline fuse, and then we've got this switch power that's gonna come from the fuse box when the vehicle gets turned on. So this is like a short, or this is for like voltage spike fuse. This is an inline fuse just for voltage spikes from the car turning on, okay? So now all we have to do is we have to put the screws in here, and then I'm gonna go double check, make sure everything works as far as the power, and then we'll mount everything up. So before installing anything in here, you have to take out a couple of these bolts, and they hold on the front plastic cover for the bumper. So there's these two on this side. There's gonna be a couple below, and then the same on the other side. So let's go ahead and take out all those bolts. And then so we have this one here, here, and then here on this side of the bumper. And then on the front right, you have this bolt right here. And then these bolts are part of the C4 Low Pro bumper. So you've got to take out that bolt as well. And then on the front left side, you've got that bolt, and then another bracket from the C4 bumper. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to basically unhook this. So this has a little like threading through it that loops in here. So you just put a flathead and just pop this up. And then up here, this little hole threads through this. So once you unlatch those, you just have to pull back on this and clips undo. And the same is on the other side. Before we can completely take off this lower portion of the bumper though, it's good to pop off this top part, which has like the grill on it and stuff like that. So what you basically do is you've got a clip here, you've got a clip right here, a clip there, then another clip right here, another clip right here. Take off this screw, and then we've got a clip right here. So we're gonna do that now. Another thing I forgot to mention is make sure to unplug your fog lights, because otherwise when you pull off your bumper, especially if you haven't put this on yet, it's just gonna free fall and you'll rip those plugs right out of the wiring harnesses. And while it's not the end of the world, it's just kind of a pain. So make sure you disconnect those. Okay, so now we can go ahead and actually remove the whole front bumper. So this part here is connected to this. I think you can disconnect them, but I'm just gonna take it all out as one housing. So I took out all the clips on top, a couple clips in the wheel wells or screws, a couple screws on the bottom, and a couple screws over here. So all of the bolts or screws, they have a socket head. They're 10 millimeter. And then these little clips you just pop out with a flat head. Unless they're really bad clips, then they might break and you might have to buy replacements. And then the C4 bumper, it has 14 millimeter bolts. So now I'm gonna just try and finagle this, because right now it's literally just being held on by the C4 bumper. And I unclipped my grill lights, so we should be good to go. So let's try and do that now. So for the sake of making this easier to remove, I did end up pulling off this top portion, and basically it just clips into the top of this bumper through a bunch of tabs all along here. So these are what those little tabs are. You just gotta press down on them and then they'll pop right out. So, and here's the deal, like a lot of these modifications that I do, I literally use this like $25 socket set I bought. And then I've just got some random tools that fit in this toolbox. And I bought this like small cordless drill. Like a lot of the modifications that you do to your 4Runner or whatever vehicle, they don't require a lot of tools. Like you can just take apart bolts and stuff, and a lot of things are plug and play. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, like you couldn't do any of this and you need to take it to a shop, like if you're willing to do it, most of this stuff you can do yourself. Okay, so if you're not aware, basically everything's in metric on the 4Runner. And to remove this front headlight, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out a bolt that's right here. It's a 10 millimeter. I've got one right here, 10 millimeter. Under this, got one right there, 10 millimeter. And then right down here on the side in this hole, another 10 millimeter. So 4 bolts, and then this housing will just come loose. So basically, wiggle it a little bit and it'll come out. And then make sure you unplug all of your lights in the back. So like this, pinch all their tabs and unplug them, or else you're gonna rip some wiring harnesses and you're not gonna be happy. One thing I will mention is this bolt right here, it's got a pretty tall lip. So you might wanna use like a flathead to get right under here and just pop that up a little, because it really hangs on. But so here I just wanted to show that you're gonna have to unplug it right here, and then you're gonna have to pull the light off and get to these other 2 plugs. Unplug both of those and then you're good to go. Okay, so these were the 3 bolts we pulled out of the other housing. So we've got 3 that have like a pretty coarse thread, and then we have this one that has a fine thread. The fine thread is gonna go right down here in the corner, and then the rest are gonna go all up along here. So now we're gonna put those on. Okay, now gotta slip this. Pull that away. Okay, got a couple of these lined up. This top screw is lined up, so I'm just gonna start a couple of these. Okay, so I ran the wire And don't grill me for my wiring. I know it's bad. I'll try and be better in the future. But basically, so here's the little red wire from the daytime running lights, and I ran it through here as best I could. This is the cable for my grill lights, which is also really ugly, but just don't pay attention to that. Plug the other cable into the other daytime running light and ran it all along this side here. So here's like the little box controller module, and then the fuse for the battery is right over in here. So there's the positive, and then I tap the negative right in over at this ground right there, just so that it's safe. And then this gray cable is my ATA fuse, which I'm going to put in properly now. Inside the fuse box, this is where I tapped it in, right there after that third 10. So now I'm gonna just drop the cable out, maybe like right here, somewhere off the side of this fuse box, and then it should be good to go. So this is low beams. This is just the check marks. This is low beams with my white fogs. And then this is my low beams with my amber fogs. And then this is my low beams with my high beams. And honestly, the video doesn't do it justice, but I wanted to at least show how the light was throwing and how there's a clear notch in the center between the vehicle headlights to provide a good cutoff, and also to point the light lower on the left side so that people that are approaching don't get blinded. So after putting those on the vehicle, I really thought that they looked absolutely amazing. Those are some of the coolest looking headlights that I think I've seen across social media. Maybe I'm a little biased, but not only do they look really cool, but they have absolutely incredible performance all fitting within that housing. So I'm really excited to have these swapped out new headlights, and after setting their height properly and everything, these really just turned out to be perfect, and I couldn't be more happy. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this install process, feel free to comment them down below. Again, go enter in that giveaway because I wouldn't want you to miss out on that. And go check me out on Instagram because I post pictures of my rig and some of the videos, and I also notify them. So, and speaking of which, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please go subscribe because it really helps me out, and turn on that notification bell so you actually get a notification when I post, because sometimes the recommended page doesn't like to recommend my videos, or maybe you just subscribe to a lot of people. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.